So we've got a new location.
We're deep in the wine cellar and art gallery.
Yeah, because there's a class happening in the tower, so we had to come down here and hide in the basement.
They're unattended. No, Jessica's up there.
So if you need us to step back here and grab a wine bottle and pour it so you can live vicariously through us, just let us know.
We've got it. There's wine just right here.
Well, there's whiskey. There's also whiskey.
And Topo Chico. I hope you have something to sip on this morning.
I think it's hilarious that the reason we have two computers up, guys, is because Boomer likes symmetry.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna make him a little uncomfortable for a second. Just oh no, it's asymmetry.
The tension rises. Welcome to Ask the Wizards.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, glad you're here. Let's go right in on the questions.
Was that you saying something, Paul?
Yes, I was. I was saying thanks, Daniel. I appreciate
what were you
that
saying,
so
sir?
much. All right,
I'm gonna turn that up because I can't hear him. I'm deaf.
There you go.
Oops. There we go.
Slide.
Hey, okay. Now we're on to the questions. Glenn Russ can win that we can't see. Move those things to the left, would you?
You bet.
Thank you.
Contemplating.
And I won't start reading it until I can read everything.
We've got the little chat box and the pictures up.
Okay, there we go. When contemplating whether to use a client voice for radio message, what are the top 3 things you look for in making this decision? Does it have to be 3? I mean, I can make up 3, but Dave's going to answer this question better. I know what my instincts would be, but Dave's actually done it.
I mean, number 1 is willingness.
Okay, there you go.
Right,
one down.
If they're like, oh hell no, then don't push them. Right, there's
fine.
It's up to them.
Yeah, what is it? A person convinced against their will remains unconvinced still.
That won't work. If they have a weird, unique voice, I love that. Right?
Yeah.
If they don't sound like anybody else on your radio station, then they absolutely should be doing their own ads because they'll stand out.
And make sure you tell them don't try to be a radio.
Don't
recording the ads.
Be you. Be you for sure. 3, like for me with client work, it sort of depends on being able to record in a decent spot. So you can probably get them to the radio station if you're in the radio biz, which I think most of you are. When you're doing it remote, you end up using some combination of Zoom and Clean Feed or Riverside FM and getting them a good mic and having them record in their walk-in closet, believe it or not.
Dude, that really is. I recorded more vocals for albums in a closet than just about any other real studios.
It can't be an empty closet. It has to be lined with clothing.
Yeah.
And it's
you got to be on your way to Narnia and like halfway there. And then you start recording voiceover.
And so, I mean, I don't know that we got to 3, but
3. Willingness, unique voice is always preferred, and ease of access to a quality recording.
And find a way to like when you write the ads for a business owner to record in their voice, make sure that they're not the one giving the announcer tag at the end. Be sure to call us at Joe Blow's Plumbing. Have an announcer do that part. Just have them doing cool, entertaining kind of dialogue-y things that sound like they wrote it themselves. So you have to kind of get in their head and say, well, if the client was going to say something, how would it sound if they said it? Not the way I write it for an announcer to do. I think that's it. I love having client voices on the air, though. Yeah, I think it makes things sound different. That's the biggest reason to do it.
All right, let's see what the next question is. Wizards. I had a client that was running a 52-week campaign with us. Before the campaign began, we met with the client to discuss creative and measurement of success. We also discussed the chickening out period. Well done.
Yeah.
That's good. Good job, you. They wanted more website traffic, so this is how they plan to judge the advertising. The fact that you know that means you're very good at your job. They are also very proud of their Google reviews and wanted that in the commercials. We're starting to approach porcupine territory, but they loved the commercials. We started the campaign months in. They weren't happy. Website traffic was up. So the thing they asked to measure was up, but they didn't feel they were getting any business from it. And they said their phone wasn't ringing. Oh, so what they told you they thought would be the measurement turned out to not be what they were actually measuring. Man, I've been in that situation. And so they canceled. I want this to be a learning lesson because I know radio works and I want to do a better job of making sure this type of situation doesn't happen again. It sounds like you did everything right at first. My questions are, is it the creative? Was it a measurement of success, or is the client just got cold feet? I would bet all of my money that it was a combination of 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay, the fact that you had an answer to what they were going to measure means you did what you could. I really don't want to like Monday morning quarterback or second, but I have been in a situation, and sometimes I've pulled it off and sometimes I misread it completely. And that is, depending on how you ask somebody questions, some people will just give you an answer because they feel like that's the responsible thing to do. Or like they think that, you're waiting on an answer, so they give you one. But you don't find out until later that that wasn't actually true. And where I have found this to be the case is when someone is trying to be successful, or for example, they want to donate to Wizard Academy. I'll give you a perfect example. We always teach this in people who are active in giving money. People either want to make a name, they want to make a difference, or what was the other one? Name, difference, or
make name, make a difference, make money,
or make money. That's what it is. In business, is making money. That's what I was thinking of. But in donating, so they either want to turn something into money, they either want to make a name for themselves and get famous, or they want to make a difference in the world. Mm-hmm. And very often you would get people who would donate to the academy, and I would be like, hey, what do you want to do? And they'd be like, oh, I just want to make a difference for you guys and help contribute. And I'm like, oh, go. Oh, there was this full and then I would, like a year or two later, they would go dark for a couple of years. And a year or two later, they would come on campus and they would see someone's name on a plaque and they would go, hey, where's my name on my plaque?
Like, you didn't tell us you wanted to.
And I'm like, guys, you never, okay, yeah, sure. Let's put your name on a plaque. Where do you want it? And then we put their name on a plaque. And then all of a sudden they were engaged again. And they were like, what else do you guys need? Can I put my name on it? And it turns out that what they said to themselves was, I want to make a difference. But what they really wanted was for people to know that they made a difference. And those are two very different things. And so I've found that the same thing happen in client discussions where you ask, how are you going to measure this thing? And they'll be like, well, blah, 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 blah. And it'll come from any number of motivations or who's sitting next to them in the meeting. Mm-hmm. And then later you'll find out when they start freaking out that they didn't know what they were really measuring. And that phone calls are like, man, you start getting in that storefront and the sales staff and the room starts going like, well, no one's ringing the phone. And everyone starts chirping at the pump company. We're not getting any more phone calls than we used to. I ran the numbers. We only got 40 phone calls this month, and last month we got 42. So marketing doesn't work. And then they come to the next meeting and they're panicking. They're freaking out about wasting all this money. Mm-hmm. So those things are tied very tight together. Unfortunately, the answer to that is not something you can intentionally pull off, I don't think. It sounds to me like you did your job exactly right, but you got to look for any cue that someone might be lying to you about their intent, what they want out of things. Like I have a guy who came in, and the only one I've successfully caught this, he was like, I just want to make a difference. And then I went out and walked him to his car, and he had his company logo wrapped around his personal truck in like 8 directions and his name on the door, owner. And I was like, it's a certain kind of human being that wants to drive around town in a personal vehicle presenting his name and that he owns this company to the whole planet.
Sure.
And it's not the kind of person who is driven first by making a difference. So I changed my plan with what we were doing, and he was really excited. But I told him every time we sat down, I was like, you're doing a great job at making a difference, so that he could hold on to what he thought he was doing. Does that make any sense, Rosa? Yeah, you can unmute if you're.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I almost have to become like an investigator.
Yeah, psychologist.
So I have a few other things. Rosa also sent
That's
in.
all.
Oh, you sent in an ad.
Rosa sent in an ad. So I want to hear the ad because I think this is going to answer give us the answer to number one, even though we think we know. Like this is a plumber, right?
Yeah.
Let's hear the ad. And if it's about plumbing, then I think question number one is not the problem. Let's hear it. Paul?
Dorothy, what a wonderful lady. Just wanted to say thanks for leaving your review. She writes, I would definitely recommend Trusted Plumbing and Heating. They're so knowledgeable, efficient, and pleasant. 5 stars. High five, Dorothy. You can count on Trusted Plumbing and Heating too. AC repair and installs to plumbing problems. Even tankless water heaters with $1,000 in rebates. TrustedPlumbingandHeating.com. A Sask Energy Network member. Read all the reviews.
I mean, I don't think question number one is, I don't think the creative is the problem, because this is a plumbing company talking about plumbing things. Check.
Yeah, no, clever way to incorporate that they wanted to talk about reviews.
Yeah.
They're very proud of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very good.
They were very proud.
Paul, what was the second question? Because this one is key. Question 2 was it the measurement of success? Yes. They're measuring the wrong thing. And web traffic is not, it's not as, it needs to be more defined than web traffic, because there's no amount of traffic that the digital weasels can't take credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what you really need to measure is how much of their traffic is being driven by searches for their name versus searches for their category. Now that should go up with a long-term radio campaign. People start searching for the name of the company, and this is true in Google ads. So if they're doing AdWords, man, the low-cost clicks are when someone searches for the name of the company, not the general term plumbing in my city. So, measure that, not just overall web traffic, because the overall web traffic comes from there's lots of different reasons, and Google's always tweaking algorithms, and you never really know. So traffic that's coming on their name search. Now, you let people measure it that way. And what they're trying to tell you is that they're testing radio, right? They're like, oh, I tried radio and it didn't work because we weren't getting phone calls. And man, that used to happen to me all the time. Like, I ran into some ads and nothing happened. Well, nobody needs a plumber today, right? There's no ad you can write and run for these guys that's going to make the phone ring, because all of a sudden households go, oh, I don't know if my hot water heater is broken or not. Let's call the plumber and find out. Nobody cares, right? You're not calling a plumber till you need a plumber. And then you're going to call the plumber that you think of first and feel best about. And that's why you can't measure a 52-week long-term branding campaign based on current web traffic. It's a fool's game. Now, if they really want to test radio, write an ad for them that says it's Trusted Plumbing. Is that the name? Is their name's actually Trusted? Mm-hmm. So the ad would go something like this. All right, this is a weird ad. Trusted Plumbing doesn't believe radio works. So we've agreed with Trusted Plumbing that the first 100 people who call them this morning will get a crisp $100 bill delivered right to their door. We're going to get in the truck. We're going to bring $100 bills to the first 100 people that call us at Trusted Plumbing. Here's the number. Don't bother writing it down. Dial it as you're listening to this ad, because there's only 100 of you that are going to get a $100 bill. Now, the thing is, they'll go, no, you can't do that. I don't want to give away. So the issue is not whether people are listening. The issue is whether you have a message that's compelling them to act. Mm-hmm. You're testing the wrong thing. You're judging us by the wrong criteria. Trust me, no one will run that ad. No one will be willing to run, because they know. And it answers the question of, did people listen? It's like, no. See, an ad that says you get $100, no questions asked. I'll call you for that. Mm-hmm. Versus an ad that says, call us when you need a hot water heater. Well, I don't need one, so I'm not calling. They gave you an unfair test. And what you could have done beforehand was just make sure that the measurement is something that can actually be measured. And honestly, I would say, let's not measure web traffic. Let's not even measure branded searches or branded clicks. We should definitely measure that because this is going to go up. The longer you do this, the more branded searches and branded clicks you're going to get. And that's going to make your cost per click go down, especially because people that search for your name have already decided that they're not calling your competitors, right? They're not doing that generic search. And so let's judge the campaign after 52 weeks on whether your business went up, not whether your clicks went up or whether your web traffic went up or whether you got more phone calls, but whether you got more business, and get them to agree to that. And then they'll quit doing all this silliness of our phones aren't ringing, because there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I'd say this is a thing that we always call the upfront agreement when we're working with new clients. And there's a temptation to sort of like not ruffle feathers and not push too hard on somebody because they're about to give you a bunch of money and you're like, this is great, this is going to work. And then you think, I won't worry about this because once it gets running, they'll see it's all going to be fine and we'll keep them. And you're far better off risking losing them in the first meeting by just being brutally honest. Then, because once you start saying that when they call 2 months later, it just sounds defensive. And no one's going to hear you. They're just like, oh, no. And if you said all the things that was just said and on the 2-month phone call, they're useless. But if you said them all before you took their money, it's like, look, guys, doesn't work. And, really the fundamental is web traffic. It's nice to measure it and it's good to know what's happening, but it's not a real relevant measure of the success of large branding campaigns. Radio happens to be a large branding campaign. Same's true of TV, same's true of mass media. And it's not a good measurement of that. It is a good measurement of these things. So if we want to measure mass media, we should be measuring these things. And that's basically top line end of, quarter, end of year sales. Yeah. And in the meantime, there's no ad that anyone on the planet could write that will make you need a plumber tomorrow. There's just not. So people are going to need plumbers when they need plumbers. We hope to be the first call. So I think at the end of it, you did a good job walking into that and handling it how you could. Maybe increase full disclosure up front at the risk of losing people. And then maybe pay a little more psychology attention to like, they say they want this, but do they? Because that's just how that works.
I like to tell people that the other measure of success for me is how famous are you in your town, right? I want you to be the most famous plumber in town. Yeah, because people will call the plumber that they can remember. But you can't measure that either. That's a nice feel-good sentence. You can, but you can actually measure it, but it's expensive and it's top of mind awareness studies.
We're going to spend more money on that than on the radio campaign.
But it's like I want people to pull you aside in the parking lot of some store and say, "I heard your ad." Yeah. Right. So does this help, Rosa?
Yes. Yeah. Digging more and having those tough conversations up front. I mean, definitely I can see how people would get defensive, especially if you're like, the phone did ring. I have access to your Google Analytics and I can read them and understand them. I'm certified in Google. Like Google certified. I can see that. And then he's like, it's spam. And I'm like, I will kill you. So then I'm like, I better just walk away. So I'll use this as a learning experience and I can use the client story, like you did, Daniel, to use that as a story and just move forward and keep digging deeper. Thank you.
If it helps, I messed this one up recently. So this is not a measure of skill sets over the long term. It's just like sometimes you just
I mean, clients just want to believe that you can measure everything, and you can't. You just can't. They need to just get that out of their heads. And the digital side of things wants to tell people that they can. But man, there's just more and more research that says just make people like you and feel good about you, and then wait for them to need you, and that will, in the long run, always win.
Cool. All right, let's hit the next question. Thank you, Rosa. Nicole Frazier, 1 year ago, our province's most influential media personality took a sizable step back from his role as host of that's the main time slot, the provincial news talk show. After 25 years behind the mic, he's not officially calling it retirement, as he's still very active in the business community. Prior to his 25-year radio career, he was a member of parliament. Good Lord, this guy's busy. He was also and is still a practicing lawyer. Since stepping back from the big chair, he's made guest appearances on the news talk station with the new host to discuss politics and elections. He's continuing public engagements relevant to our province in Western Canada. You can make a case he's still relevant with our province, even though he hasn't directed or isn't directing the provincial conversation 4 hours every weekday. Since he was so influential, many business owners sought out endorsement deals with him while he was on the air. Makes sense. Some of these business owners have remained loyal for 10 plus consecutive years and are still eager to renew their endorsement deals with him. From a consultant's perspective, how long does someone with a history such as this continue to be a voice of influence for the people of the province? At what point do we need to consider transitioning clients to endorsements with the new host?
Hi, Nicole.
Yeah, sorry. I was about to say hi. I have no idea. To me, a fair answer to that would only be if I was in the local town and I had a vague gauge of like, if he's still involved and still connected, then just because he's not on every day, 4 hours a day, doesn't mean that he's not top of mind awareness at some level. Okay, let me reference this. Dave, there's a thing that we do that once you've built up a business with long-term branding to the point where you have achieved top of mind awareness and you own the market, you're a Gettle, you're, fill in the blank, right? And if you just cold turkey stop advertising, full stop, how long does it take for that brand awareness to wear off?
It's like asking, you get your airliner up to altitude and you're flying across the continent,
right?
And you shut the engines off,
right?
You're not going to hit the ground immediately.
Yeah. So what's that average? Like, give me a ballpark.
I have no idea how to give you a ballpark number because it depends on the product purchase cycle.
I know. Right? I've heard multiple people give like 2 years.
Okay.
Royce says you'll last fine for 1 year. You'll start dying in year 2. By year 3, you'll be dead.
And to me, go ahead.
Yeah. So all I can think of is this is not really that different than if a company who owns your radio for commercials, right? And everyone knows and loves them locally, called you and canceled all commercials today. Like they'd probably be fine through the end of 2024. They're going to start seeing a decline in 2025. By 2026, they're completely screwed. And they're going to have to, if they start a new campaign in 2026, they'll have to start, 2027, they'll have to start completely from scratch.
Sure.
So I would say you have 1 year, you're probably fine this year. Next year, it depends on how active he is.
Yeah.
Right? If he's still coming on the new news hosts guy, then you might be able to prolong that a whole other year. But yeah, I think 2 years at the absolute outside, and I think you'll be lucky to get a full year.
I think you can't discount the fact that he was on the air for 25 years.
That's real.
And he's a trusted person. He's a trusted voice. But what you've been talking about, Daniel, gets to the heart of why I would never recommend an endorsement deal to any client.
Yeah.
Because the person that's doing your endorsement is going to retire or get hired away by the competitors or
move
to another town. And now you've got to create a whole new campaign. So the people that are still using him, I think they're probably smart to still use him till it doesn't feel like he's relevant anymore. And if you want endorsements with the new guy has to start feeling like he's really stepped in and is wearing the hat of the old guy and has the same kind of trust.
But then you're just trading current problem for another future problem. So I'll tell you what I would do if it was me. I would keep the endorsement, but I would write all the ads to start a whole new approach to advertising that you can own. And it's simply being, you partner basically with the celebrity dude.
Yeah.
Right. So you start writing real ads for yourself as if there was no endorsement. And then you figure out a way to plug him in. So it doesn't feel like an endorsement. He's just part of the ad. And then you are transitioning to your own messaging instead of to Joe Blow says we're awesome.
So Nicole, here's a cold-blooded question for you. Does the radio station make more money if clients buy an endorsement from the new guy? The radio station does, but the new guy doing the endorsement also makes money from it, right? Personally. So it's
Okay.
so there's a financial incentive for your team to sell endorsements because you're asking more per ad for an endorsement ad than you are for a regular ad. Okay.
If you really want to stick with endorsements, which again, I don't like it, but people tend to do it. If you really want to stick with endorsements, you could find a way to split the endorsement.
Yeah, have them do
I don't
it
even know if
together.
it's possible, but have them do it together as a handoff over the next couple of years where they're just talking about it together. And in people's minds, they start to become a duo endorsement.
Yeah, I like that.
And then eventually the old guy sort of passes off and the new guy has already had a year plus of being a voice on this thing.
My hunch is that 25 of you guys going to say no to that, but
Yeah.
who knows? I mean,
But he's got, I mean, if he's got any self-awareness, he knows that he has no value right now.
Like,
because no one cares if he endorses something if you don't know who he is. You haven't developed affection for it. And there's going to be a whole group of people, speaking from experience, who are mildly annoyed by the new guy for the first year or two, simply because he's the new guy. And I don't like the way that feels. And I have 2 radio stations I listen to that I feel like that right now. There's a new guy and he's fine.
Yeah.
And he's doing just fine, but he annoys me because he's not the old guy. And I keep thinking like, that's not what the old guy would have done.
yeah. Are you guys not making as much from the old guys' endorsements?
Yeah, that's correct. I'd be looking at probably 16,000 more per year for the client to switch to the new guy.
Okay.
Honestly, I would tell the clients, put the extra money into more repetition. Because it's again, I'd never recommend endorsements to a client because first of all, they're paying a premium for it. And that is at the cost of frequency. And second, because we don't know when the endorser is going to retire or move on. You would also never have an employee of the company, of the client, do the ads, right? Even if they have a really cool, really fun person that's working for them, if they're not invested in ownership of that company, man, don't make them the spokesperson because they're going to leave someday. And then you're starting from scratch. You've built up all this equity in their name and you lose it. I think for your client's sake, more frequency. And honestly, that gets the radio station just as much revenue. If I'm calculating it right in my head, I think I am.
I mean, and you can write some ads around like, saying goodbye and thank you to the old guy.